Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Amadeus. It's Jim, and we got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. Amadeus, it's good to have you here. The trade deadline went, past at 6 o'clock. I guess all the faxes got in on time. So, some interesting things in baseball. We'll get to, let's start with the baseball, get back to soccer, and we'll go from there. But here's some of the winners, okay, from the trade deadline. Okay, so we got the Astros. They got, Justin Verlander back, which didn't hurt them at all. The Rangers, of course, got Scherzer. The Rays got Cervelli. The O's and the Blue Jays. Now, the O's and the Blue Jays did something really interesting, and that's this. They basically took the Cardinals apart. Jack Flaherty went to the Orioles. Paul DeJong, Jordan Hicks, and Jesus Cabrera, Chris Stanton, all to the Blue Jays, all from the Cardinals. So there you go. There's the haul that went from St. Louis to north of the border to your Blue Jays. How about that? So amazing haul from one team. Basically, those were for prospects. So they basically got 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 4 players that can play right now on the Blue Jays from the one team, which usually is kind of a mixture of stuff. It doesn't look like the Cardinals said, okay, let's send these guys out.
Yeah, pretty much. They got rid of a lot of guys there. I even saw Flaherty is supposed to start for the Orioles tomorrow, I think. So
yeah,
that'll be an interesting one to see.
He's one of the guys that is the perfect. He's a perfect candidate for your term gas can. He has had some problems as of late. So the Orioles and Jack Flaherty, they're hoping that they'll get the Jack Flaherty of 3 years ago and not the Jack Flaherty of 3 weeks ago. So we'll see how that goes. How do you like what the Jays did? They were very active at the trade deadline, not with the big names, but with good fill-in pieces.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Really, I think it's pitching is what they need, but we'll see how it goes.
It will be there. So we'll get back to the baseball a little bit later, but we just wanted to bring you up to date on that because at the end of the day, we had yesterday we were in the midst of it, and we just want to put a bow on that one. So that's what went on with the trade deadline. Let's now talk. We got a bunch of soccer tonight. We've already talked this week about Inter Miami and Orlando City playing in the Leagues Cup. That game is tonight, 8 p.m. on Apple TV Plus. Then Mazel Tov is playing. Mazel is playing Dallas. That's a 9 o'clock start. Pucha is taking on Houston. That's also a 9 o'clock start. And a 10:30 start is Juarez and LAFC. That's the cup tonight. So some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of like the over 3 in this Miami-Orlando match. It's funny because actually Miami they were close to a -150 right after the group stage when this matchup was put out there. They were about a -150, and that has come down all the way to -120. So
Wow.
Some money is coming in on Orlando, I guess, and for good reason because obviously Messi has been doing great in this tournament, but still on a bad team. Now he's going to play a very good team.
Right.
Orlando is one of the better teams in the MLS, I would say, and plus this is going to be a Florida Derby match, so don't expect Orlando to roll into Fort Lauderdale and just lay down and die for Messi. So I think there's some value on the over 3 here, just because obviously we saw Messi and Miami put up 4 goals in their last match, but they could do the same against Orlando today. But they still don't have a good defense, and especially in a derby match like this, I could see Orlando putting up a good fight for sure.
And that's part of something. The interesting thing here is Orlando and Fort Lauderdale are so close that that's going to be a bus ride. So it's kind of a funny thing to travel on, here on the I-95 corridor. It's not uncommon to take train to Washington, Philadelphia, play the Phillies, and then take the train to Philadelphia, New York, and that stuff, and vice versa, going back and forth that way, and football as well, because it just doesn't pay to fly. The distances are not that far, so it's kind of a bonding thing where players have always told me that they kind of like the bus trips because these guys are professional athletes who haven't been on those bus trips for a very, very long time. Now in Europe they do continue to still do some bus trips, right?
Well, yeah, of course, because when you have like a country like England where you got like 20 teams in London between the
Right.
championship and the Premier League, like you're not going to fly from London to London. So obviously there's, and especially, England in general is a
Right.
smaller country compared to, Canada and America, where you got to fly across 3 time zones just to get to
Right.
the other side.
Right. So okay, yeah, they can take hot air balloons from one stadium to the other.
Now Italy is a bit of a different story, just because it's a longer country.
Right.
So if you're a team from the north, which a majority of the Serie A teams tend to be from the north, and you got to go play one of those, southern teams that just came up from relegation or something, yeah, you're not bussing there, because that is a long bus ride. I remember when the one time I went to Italy, it's about a 3-hour ride just from Rome to the province of Abruzzo. So, and then they're like pretty much beside each other. So, yeah, if you're going from Milan all the way down to Lecce or something, definitely taking a plane ride, and then you still have to bus it on top of that.
Right. So okay, well, they're, like you said, it's something that it's just something that I think these guys, it's a bonding thing. So I think they'll, taking that ride down, which they probably already have. Well, I'm sure they already have done that. So their bus is there, and we'll see how it turns out. And it'll be fun to watch the game tonight on Apple TV Plus. We talked too about one of the teams that I think that you really like is playing tonight, and that let me have my scoreboard changed on me here for a second. And that is, didn't you like Juarez, or is it Pucha that you like? Pucha.
I think Pachuca is a pretty good team. Now that one's actually an interesting one, just because Pachuca actually didn't play in the group stage. They were automatically, I guess, bid right into this round of 32.
Wow, good for them.
So you can take that. You can take that as you will, but this match interests me because obviously, Houston has the home advantage. If you look at their matches in the MLS, they're a very different team at home than they are on the road. So that's a big thing for them being at home in this match. But Pachuca, they're one of the better Mexican clubs, but because they didn't play in the group stage, their last match that they played was back on July 15th. So they haven't played a match in over 2 weeks now. And now they're just getting thrown into the round of 32 on the road here. So it's going to be an interesting match for sure. I would still side with Pachuca. I think they're the better team. But the match could also draw. It's going to be something to watch, just because Pachuca hasn't played in the tournament yet. So that's something I'm looking for. And same with the LAFC in that later match against Juarez. They weren't in the group stage either, and they're in the same boat as Pachuca. LAFC hasn't played a match since July 15th.
Well, you brought up a good point yesterday, and that was that most of these games, the team from the Mexican League has to come to the U.S. It looks like the LAFC is going to Juarez, so that's that should be fun.
No. That one's at BMO Stadium, and I know I've been looking at a few different books, and half the books have it the opposite way, and the other half has it like it's switched.
Yeah.
It's not consistent, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
the home team is on the right, and other times I'm seeing the home team on the left for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why that is, but yeah, no, I can confirm for you. I've checked this morning. Miami, Dallas, Houston, and LA are all the home teams.
Oh,
And
they're all-
actually, even in some of these, like for example, so Mazatlan and Juarez were in the same
Right.
group as Austin.
Mhm.
So it's funny because both Juarez and Mazatlan beat Austin 3-1 in Austin. But when Juarez and Mazatlan had to play each other, that match was at the Austin Stadium. It wasn't even in Mexico. So even when that's how much of a disadvantage these Mexican clubs are at, is even when the two Mexican clubs are playing against each other,
Right.
they're playing on a neutral site in the U.S. as opposed to actually playing at home. So and the fact that they've been playing so well against these MLS teams, you got to tip your cap to these Mexican clubs for sure, because they're at the biggest disadvantage in this tournament by far, and they're absolutely rolling some of these MLS clubs.
But I think with the games in Texas and the games in LA, in some cases, and I can't speak to this because I haven't looked at the crowd makeup, but oftentimes the Mexican community in these Texas towns or Texas cities, I should say, and Los Angeles show out big to those games. And there have been times when I've seen teams from Mexico show up in Los Angeles, and you would think that LA is the traveling team. They definitely aren't the home team, because the home stadium's taken over by the local Mexican community that has come to support their team. And it doesn't matter whether they don't necessarily even have to be fans of that team. It's just
the Mexican club they're cheering.
That's right. And that's it's a national thing for them, which is kind of cool. And it makes I'm sure it makes the teams from Mexico feel like they've got at least a little bit of a home advantage in that regard.
It's funny you mentioned that, Jim, because LAFC obviously has to play a Mexican club tonight, and that's going to be one of those matches where you're going to get a lot of the Mexican population come out and cheer on this Juarez side. Right. And as we've already talked about, Juarez, even though they're on the road here, they're at a bit of an advantage because they played 2 matches in Austin.
Right.
And they did very well. They won one, and I think they actually drew with Mazatlan 1-1. But yeah, so they've been warmed up. They've already played 2 matches on the road, and they're going to have no problem going in against this LA team, especially if there's going to be a lot of Mexican fan base, as you said, in the crowd. Considering that this LAFC team hasn't played in over 2 weeks because they weren't in the group stage, so there could be a rust factor there. And we've already seen them struggle against Mexican sides, as they lost both legs away and the second leg at home to the Mexican club León in the CONCACAF Champions League final. So that's definitely something where it'll be interesting to see how LAFC comes out tonight. And it'll be interesting to see how Pachuca comes out tonight, because these are 2 teams that didn't play in the group stage, and being well rested can be helpful, but it can also be hurtful if
it doesn't fit right. Yeah,
especially if you're playing a team that's in form and has confidence from their last match. It's going to be a lot tougher for you, who hasn't played in 2 weeks.
100%. When the U.S. played Mexico in a friendly before the World Cup, it was played at the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles, which seats about 90,000. And it was packed, and 70,000 were Mexican fans, and 20,000 were U.S. fans. So, read into that what you will. But, it wasn't like the whole country of Mexico, descended upon Pasadena. That was a lot of that group was local fans that just show up and root for the team. So I think tonight, if you're watching at 10:30 on on Apple TV Plus and watching that game, you're definitely gonna look at it and see that the Mexican team will get some definite love from some of the fans in the stadium, and the way that LAFC has been drawing, which is not bad. I mean, the stadium's only about 25, 30,000 tops, and so it wouldn't take that many to make it a pretty close to an even side in that regard. So there you go. World Cup. Oh, wait.
Oh, I was just going to say, we got Foxy in the crowd here talking about Pachuca, talking about how they had a poor start to the season. And yeah, Foxy, that's what I was talking about, right? So you got this Pachuca team. I'm interested to see how they come out tonight because, as you mentioned here, they started their first 3 matches of the Liga MX pretty poorly. And that last match in the Liga MX was the last match they played since they didn't play in the group stage. So yeah, now they're coming out after not playing for 2 weeks, and you have to be on the road against a Houston side that is noticeably better at home than they are on the road. And plus, they've already played 2 matches in the group stage, so they're a bit warmed up for this. So definitely will be interesting to see how that one turns out.
That'll be fun. Real quick, I want to get your comments on the Women's World Cup from today. Sweden 2-0 over Argentina. South Africa in a game against Italy 3-2. Jamaica and Brazil drew at nothing tie. And France beat Panama, doubling them up 6-3. So yeah, there's some definite surprises in that pack of 4 games this morning in the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. The biggest shock was obviously the Jamaica-Brazil draw because Brazil has now been eliminated from the competition. With that draw, Jamaica ended up finishing second in the group behind France, who won it. And that France match, France came out and dominated from the start, but they got a little lazy at the end. That's why they allowed Panama to score another 2 late goals. So very, very interesting results for sure. I was on the over in the South Africa-Italy match. I actually kind of liked South Africa in that one too, and sure enough, they won it in the 90th minute. So that South Africa team is something else. They got a very strong attack, but their defense is garbage. So it'll be interesting to see when they actually play a team that'll be able to pick them apart, and they're going to have a lot more trouble scoring on. So,
well, you said you liked the South Africa team, from the get-go. So that was
yeah. Them and Nigeria have been a huge surprise for sure in this tournament.
What about Panama?
Panama, I mean, that was really so they scored 3 goals against France today,
right.
But those were the first 3 goals they had ever scored in a World Cup.
It was garbage time.
Well, it was more so they scored like in the first minute of the game on a free kick. She just kicked it over the wall and it like pretty much skimmed the post in the top corner of the net. So it was a very nice shot that got the ball rolling for them. They actually took the 1-0 lead, but then France scored like 4 or 5 unanswered to go up 5-1. And then, yeah, as I said, when we got into that last 20 minutes of the match, France had a 5-1 lead. They stopped caring. They sloppy tackle on defense gave Panama a penalty to make it 5-2. And then again, just laziness on defense led to the 3rd goal, which made it 5-3. And then France ended up getting that 6th one in like the 10th minute of stoppage time or something like that.
Well, tomorrow, because these are games that will come up when you and I will not be on. It'll be tomorrow. We'll have a chance to talk about them, but I'm sure that you're probably going to have in your picks for today. Germany and Korea. That's 6 a.m. on Fox, and FS1 has Morocco and Colombia. So those are your 2 games in the Women's World Cup that technically are being played today, but we won't talk about them until tomorrow. So those two games will be tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Again, Fox is going to have Germany and the Korean Republic, and Morocco is going to be facing Colombia. That's on FS1. All those games can be seen on Fubo TV, Universal, Telemundo, and Peacock. So there you go. That's where you can find
these are the final matches of the group stage as well. So
we'll see. Some interesting stuff. There's also going to be a bunch of League Cup games tomorrow, but we're very excited because they're stretching them out, so we're not having to see all of them in one day, which is always a good thing. So.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you don't let the MLS handle the schedule.
Right, handle the scheduling. So there you go. All right. So anything with regard to the Champions League stuff that's coming up that's piquing your interest? I know NBC has already begun the process of letting people know that we're only 1 month out from the beginning of the Premier League starting season.
Yeah, they start really in 9 days.
Yeah, so it's coming soon. All right, one of the things about that, and it's kind of unique to I'm not just going to say the Premier League, but to soccer in Europe in general, is that they'll start the season in many cases without necessarily the starting lineup you're going to see, mid-season in the stretch run, right?
Well, yeah, and a lot of that has to do with some of these teams buy a lot of players in the transfer window.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these teams aren't even done buying players in the transfer window because obviously the season starts with about 3 weeks to go in it. So it's more so one of those things where you have an idea of this is my best starting 11, and then you put them out on the pitch. You give them maybe like 2 or 3 matches together. It doesn't work out the way you think it is, and then obviously you have to shake things up. And then by the time we get mid-season, I would hope the manager knows what your best starting 11 is by then.
Well, let me ask this: how does that, or does it affect the futures bets? Because I know a lot of people like to do futures on Premier League.
I think it definitely can affect the futures, obviously, but it's really tough to gauge because there's also the winter transfer window. So we've seen teams just absolutely, like, you could place a bet on a team to do well, for example, in Champions League, right? So let's say last year you take Benfica to win Champions League before the group stage started. You're looking great throughout the whole group stage. You're looking great with that bet. They end up winning their group over PSG. You're looking great going into the knockouts. Then the winter transfer window comes up and they sell most of the key players on their team.
Right.
All of a sudden your bet doesn't look good anymore. So it's really tough. When it comes to futures in soccer, I don't usually bet at the beginning of the season. I like to wait till a middle point and see, because things change all the time, obviously, and especially with that winter transfer window, you can get teams that just destroy themselves completely because they're not having a good year and they just need to fix the debt at that point. And you get teams that all of a sudden they're in a position they didn't think they were going to be in come December, and they're saying, all right, let's go buy a player and try to make a run. Maybe we get to European competition for next year.
So the worst leg break last night from ex-Real Madrid left back Marcelo.
Yeah, I was watching that match, but I know you were, Foxy. Your Fluminense tied at 1-1 and very late in that one to get the draw going back home. But yeah, I didn't see that leg break. Maybe I'll have to go check it out now. I was watching the Libertad game at that time.
Now, Foxy is in what country? Where I know you're down there in Central America, right?
thought it was Colombia or Ecuador.
Yeah. Okay.
One of those with that
One
flag. One of those
Right.
countries with that flag, but I don't think it's Venezuela.
No, I'm looking for it, but Foxy's.
It would explain why he had the Colombian women to advance at plus 1100, which is an amazing line. Because I had them to advance at minus 150, but Foxy, you could have taken them to win the group because it looks like they're gonna win the group now.
Right, and cash big time. So yeah, that's amazing. So kind of just put a button on this. When you're getting ready for the season, yesterday we spent a great deal of time talking about baseball's transfer portal and not transfer portal, the baseball's free
excited Jim.
Signing things.
Getting excited for a different sport there.
Yeah, exactly. Got me into college football. We get excited about the trade deadline and guessing which guy might go in what team. And in many ways, it's the same thing. What you're saying is there's that they're in on a guy, and you hope that your guy gets them. If they don't, well, then it's going to make it difficult. So I can definitely see where laying off the futures in soccer is probably the wise route.
Especially when you have the Messi saga and the Mbappe saga that you see going on right now. Like what if you could place your bet on a future for the Premier League right now, and in 2 weeks maybe Mbappe gets goes to one of those Premier League teams to finish out his year. So
you don't know.
Yeah, I like to wait normally.
Do you think is Mbappe going back to PSG or is he going to Saudi?
Honestly, I have no idea. I thought Messi was going to go to Saudi, and I was wrong about that. So I'm not going to try and guess where Mbappe is going. I'm just going to wait and see what happens, and then we'll take it from there once we know where he's playing.
So it's not likely he's going to end up in Miami.
No, there's absolutely zero chance that will ever happen. I don't think he will ever play on another team with Messi.
That's what it's like. Come on,
he'll go to Orlando if that's the case.
Right. It's like let me just beat up on him as many times as I possibly can. Oh man, and we're still keeping our eyes open for anybody else that might want to join the band of Merry Wanderers down there in Miami with Messi.
They're still working on Luis Suarez right now.
Right.
It's gotten to the point where he's so distracted by it. Gremio is not even starting him anymore. He's kind of just watching up in the box.
Right.
Sit there. Street clothes on.
Let us know when you're. Let us know when you decided where you're going.
Because the thing is, he literally just got to the team.
Right.
And he wants to go now. He wants to go play with Messi, and they don't want to let him go. And Miami's actually Miami's throwing out a decent amount of money. I think the number I saw was $77 million US to get Suarez. That would be the transfer fee, I guess. But it's interesting, And they'd have an easier time getting Neymar at this point.
That's true.
Okay, all Miami would have to do is just go to PSG and be like, "We'll pay the salary.
We'll pay a plane ticket.
We'll pay the salary. Just give them to us.
Get rid of him, please." So let's downshift into the Major League Baseball scoreboard for this afternoon. We'll talk about the games tonight and today. Today, top of the eighth, Atlanta is punishing the Angels. That score is 11-4.
That's what you get for not trading Ohtani.
That was funny enough. That was one of the things where they were listing the winners, and they put down the Angels as a winner and a loser. Winner for getting the players that they did, and loser for not getting rid of Ohtani. So I guess it was a win-win. They're in on the. Actually, the Angels had up until today. Because that's going to change. They had the best post All-Star break record in baseball, so they had gained some ground in large part because the Astros and the Rangers were playing each other. They gained some ground on those guys as the as they get ready for the race for the wild card. So we'll see if Artie Moreno, his deal paid off. But right now, it's not looking good because the Braves are beating them by a score of 11-4. Top 9, top 8, the Tigers 5, the Buccos 2. Over at Nats Park, bottom 6, it's the Brew Crew who fell out of first place, leading the Nationals 2-1. Astros and Guardians, that game's in Houston. That game is a end of one, is no score. And of course, there was the no-hitter pitched in Houston last night. So that was cool. And 3:10 p.m., we've got some action here. 3:10 is Padres Rockies. That's Martinez and Freelander. Freelander. So it's Martinez for the Padres, Freelander for Colorado. 4:10 Boston Seattle. That's Crawford against Gilbert. 6:40 p.m. Zach Wheeler for Phillies and Garrett for the Marlins. Speaking of Garrett Cole for the Yankees tonight. Shane McClanahan for the Rays. That's a pitching matchup. McClanahan is 11-1. Cole is 9-2. That's a pretty good pitching matchup there. Orioles Blue Jays. Rodriguez on the hill for Baltimore tonight. He's at 2-2 with a 6.21 ERA. And is it Kikuchi? Kikuchi is on the hill for Toronto. He's 8-3 with a 3.79 ERA. Not bad. Twins Cardinals. I don't know if they have any pitching left in St. Louis, but I guess they must. Hudson for the Cardinals. Clearly we know he hasn't pitched many times. He's 1-0 with a 4.19 ERA. Ryan from Minnesota. He's 9-7 with a 4.6 ERA. We got the Reds and the Cubbies. That game is at 8:05. Williamson on the hill for Cincinnati. Smiley on the hill for Cubs. He's 8-7 with 4.50 ERA. Rangers White Sox at 8:05. That's Cease for the White Sox. I don't know. Is that? Well, I guess. Okay. 4.4, 4.15 ERA. Dunning 8-4 for the Rangers. And we have a little more because come on. There we go. 8:10 Mets and Royals. That's Senga on the hill for the Mets. Reagan's on the hill for Kansas City. D-backs Giants. That's Sassoni pitching for Arizona. Webb for San Francisco. And the Dodgers in the Athletics. Harris for Oakland and Jocelyn on the hill for the Dodgers. That's a 10-10 start. So there's your baseball for today. Anything jumping out there? There's some good matchups in the afternoon game with the Brew Crew and the Nationals. The Brewers have to get busy. Astros Guardians, that's kind of like okay, not much there. But Rays Yankees tonight. That game, by the way, if you are a subscriber to the MLB Network, you will be. That's the feature game tonight. With the game with the Orioles and the Blue Jays being their alternate game. So you get one of those two games you'll get tonight. Orioles and Blue Jays the Orioles have had the Blue Jays number. I don't quite understand that one. But what was it? The Orioles have beaten them all but one game in that season series so far.
Yeah, well, they beat them 13-3 last night. So
Santander hit a home run, a grand slam home run. What I was trying to say, but not well. So
actually, the Blue Jays themselves in the division this season are 7-22 for like minus 22 units or so, 28 units or something like that.
Wow,
they are just awful in the division.
But yet they're still close.
Yeah, and that's where that division game change comes into play.
Oh,
if they had to see the Rays and the Orioles a few more times this year, yeah, they're definitely sliding down.
Well, we look at them. I mean, they're third place and they're they're ahead of Boston. They're ahead of the Yankees. They're 7.5 games out of first place. The Rays are a game and a half out of first place. But and all of the teams, as pretty much has been all season long, all of those teams have been above 500. I think there are a couple of times both the Yankees and the Red Sox touched the 500 mark, but didn't go down below it. Not to be confused, obviously, with the Central Division, where they live below 500.
That's the name of the game over there.
Yeah, Minnesota leads the division by 2. They're 2 games ahead of Cleveland. They're only 2 games over 500 at 55 and 53. And the opposite record is what Cleveland has. They're 53 and 55. Detroit at 7.5 games back is 47 and 60. The White Sox 43 and 65. They're 12 games back. And Kansas City has won a grand total of 33 games, and they're lost 75. They're 22 games out. Now let's look at the Angels here. Texas leads the Astros by half a game. And then comes the Angels at 56 and 52. So there's 3 games over 500 mark. They're 5.5 games back. Seattle's only 6 back, and Seattle traded everybody yesterday for some reason. So yeah, that's kind of weird. Let's go to the Nationals real quick, and then we'll go back and take a look at the wild card. Atlanta is 11 up on Philadelphia. Miami's just at 12.5, so only a game and a half behind the Phils. The Mets are 18 and 5 and pretty much folded on that one. The Nationals are 45 and 63. They're 24.5 games out. Pretty sure that they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Cincinnati is the new leader for this week. It's too bad we don't have Rye here, because this is more like the Central's more like a NASCAR race. I mean, it's like you're drafting.
Remember when the Pirates were dominating the division?
The Pirates led that division for like a month.
That feels like that was 2 years ago.
It does. It probably feels that way in Pittsburgh. They're 9 and 5. They're 9.5 games out is what they are. St. Louis is behind Pittsburgh at 11.5 games out, and clearly normally it's just that, and we've talked about this many times. St. Louis is not a rebuild team. Usually they're always there. They are able to matriculate guys from minor leagues up, and they make it and things look good, but not this time. So we'll see.
And you know what, Chip? The Cardinals are a great example for why I don't bet futures at the beginning of the season.
Good. That's a very good point. The Dodgers.
That was the team I had, the Cardinals.
The Dodgers, who had a really terrible first half of this season, are sitting atop of the West by 2.5 games over San Francisco, 4.5 games over Arizona, who we thought Arizona had, they didn't lead like the Pirates for that long, but they did hold on to that number 1 spot. San Diego 8.5. San Diego did not trade Juan Soto, which I thought was kind of interesting. I thought they could have.
Didn't they buy? They became like buyers at the deadline.
They did. They got buyers, and the theory of the case there, which was kind of odd, was that they said, well, the Dodgers didn't do anything. Okay, well, the Dodgers didn't do anything, but the Dodgers are getting 3 pitchers back in the next month. So why trade for somebody if you're gonna, And honestly, the Dodgers were only in on one guy, and that was Verlander, and we all know where he went, to Houston. So I don't quite get San Diego's thought, because they have to climb 2 people to get to even make it to the wild card situation. So let's take a quick look at that wild card situation. Get your thoughts on that, my friend, as we get ready here for baseball. We got the Orioles, Rangers, and for the moment, the Twins are in first place, which leaves the Rays, who are 6 games up on the next best team in baseball, which is the Houston Astros. So right now it's the Rays and the Astros with Toronto 2 games out of the wild. No, I'm sorry, wild card. Toronto is in the wild card at the moment. Boston is a game and a half out of the wild card. The Angels are 3 games out of the wild card. The Yankees are 3.5 out of the wild card. Seattle's 3.5 out of the wild card. Now you can go down and Cleveland's 6 games out, but so there's no way Cleveland's going to climb over 4 teams to get to the wild card.
No,
So,
they
yeah.
have to win that division. That
Yeah.
anybody in the Centrals have to win their division.
It ain't going to happen. So you're looking at, okay, Seattle, 3.5. If you're the Angels or if you're the Yankees, the Angels, or Boston, you could basically have, if you play decent ball the rest of the way, you have maybe, a week where you get, 10-2 or something like that. You could, you could get yourself into the playoffs just by having one hot streak. As long as you don't crater in the next, over the month of August, because August is tough because of the heat and because of all of the things that can go wrong, and usually do. But there's where that's going on. So, not bad looking breakdown there. Let's go to the National League. Atlanta, the Dodgers, and Cincinnati are division leaders, and the 3 teams in the wild card right now: San Francisco, the Phils, and Milwaukee, and then Arizona, Miami, Chicago are separated by the Cubbies are 3.5 out of a spot. Miami and Arizona tied at 1 game out, and San Diego is hovering back there at 5 games out. So there's some. I mean, I can see where some of the because the Cubs traded, but they also then bought. So that they, like you said, they were one of those teams that was a seller, but they were also a buyer. Miami was a little bit of a buyer. Arizona was a little bit of a buyer. Milwaukee didn't do anything. I don't think. No, they didn't do anything. Yeah.
No, didn't you say they got the Mariners closer?
Or
was it the Diamondbacks?
No, you're. I think the Diamondbacks.
It was the Diamondbacks. Actually, I think it was the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks get the closer. Ironically, and we just went through that the Mariners were right there. Pretty much, they had a shot. So what are you going to do, right? So that's where they are at this point.
Well, they have the same record as the Yankees.
Yeah.
Which is just why, it's absurd to me that they traded their closer away.
Well, let's just, we'll give it up. Real quick, let's take a look and see if anything's changed. I know the Braves are still beating the Angels and still bottom of the 8th, 11-4. Bottom of the 8th in Pittsburgh, and the Tigers are winning that one 6-2. Nationals and Brew Crew, that's bottom of the 7, and that's 2-1 ball game still. Guardians are up on the Astros 2-0, and then everything else starts later. So those are your scores from right now. So get you up to speed. One real quick look back at today's soccer for those of you who want to pay attention to the Leagues Cup. Inter Miami and Orlando SC. My favorite, Mazel Tov and Dallas playing at that game. The Miami game is at 8 o'clock. The 9 o'clock game is in Dallas. Pucha is taking on Houston, and that's at 9 o'clock. And then at 10:30 is Los Angeles FC and Juarez. All those games are on Apple TV+. So there you go for those who want to watch tonight, and I'm sure many of you do. There you go. Foxy has a question. Warren? Agreement.
Yeah, not a question. He's just
he's making a statement.
Yeah, what happened with the Luis Suarez stuff. So there you go. They took a year off his contract, so he'll be allowed to go join Messi in Miami in December in the winter transfer window, and that works out perfectly for everybody because by then the Brazilian season will be over, as well as the MLS season, so we can get ready to start next year.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Foxy, our research department. It's good to have him
It's
around.
got the inside track on this on anything South America.
That's right. He's definitely on top of it. We don't believe it. We don't appreciate it. That's really cool. So, all right. Thanks, my friends. We've had a lot of fun. We're going to get out of here on a Wednesday. We appreciate the fact with us. Any final thoughts? We know what's down in the show box, folks. You know the links are there.
Yep, you can get my plays at bigal.com and pickadvisor.com. And tonight I got 3 up in the Leagues Cup. I got 1 in Copa Libertadores, 2 in Copa Sudamericana, and 3 in MLB. So big night.
Wow, all kinds of stuff going on. So by all means, check it out. Everything is in the show box below. So if you come and you watch us on replay, which many of you do, you can leave a comment, and if you like, and also check those links out because they definitely will benefit you. Mr. Amadeus is good at this stuff, so by all means, check it out. All right, until tomorrow, everybody, 2:00 tomorrow. We will see you. Have a nice afternoon. Hope you enjoy the games tonight, and hope your team wins. Until then, for Amadeus, I'm Jim. See you tomorrow.